Welcome back to the It's Your Story to Tell podcast, where brave people share their story to inspire others in what's possible. I'm your host, Megan Babcock, and the founder of It's Your Story to Tell and the Coach Collective. And I'm so happy to be back here again with Deborah Scott. If you did not hear the episode before this, pause and go check it out because you'll want to hear about her journey through hard and through, losing parents at a young age and being disconnected, and then how God kind of moved with her as she had to navigate difficult homes, or not difficult, but different homes, right? That becomes difficult.
Yeah.
And different is always hard. And then how she was able to reconnect with her father. But they still moved around a lot. So there was a lot of things that she kind of learned to package up and store away for another day. Well, if you were listening to last episode, you know that it was at a conference that she was at that she was brought to her awareness that she might need to deal with some of the things from the past. So if you are struggling and there's things from your past that are difficult and you're in a dark place, both Deborah and I have difficult parts of our stories, but God can do miracles and turn that around for you. But sometimes when you're in the midst of it, it's really hard to see. So we just want to acknowledge that getting help is so important. Like, not doing this alone, whether it's reaching out to someone and connecting like Deborah or me on social media to just encourage you or help direct you to resources. But if there's something right now and you're in a difficult place and you need help now, there is help available, and you can call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. So thank you, Deborah, for sharing with us in this last episode about your journey. And I'd love for you to pick up from that moment when you were shown what you needed to focus on and that there was an opportunity for the Lord to work, and tell us about how you started on that journey.
So after the women's conference, I had young children, and anybody that's in that stage of life understands, like, they are your world. And so it was easy for me to just let that seed, that word that was spoken over me, just kind of lie dormant and let it grow. And in 2008, two things happened. I started having dreams that were kind of like taking me back. And the significant dream that I had, I actually wrote it in the story, Secret Chambers of the Heart, because it was such a pivotal moment in my life that I literally, I had to pray into this dream. And part of it was, I think, if it's okay, I'd like to share this one part. But
Yes,
I
please.
start off on this path at the top of a knoll, and down over the knoll is a cave. And so as I'm walking down toward the cave, I get smaller and smaller and smaller. And for the first time in my life, I realized that my mommy was gone. Now, up to this point in my life, I had mostly felt compassion towards my father, losing my brothers. They were adopted into another state. I was not with them, but I never dealt with the emotions with my mom. And so that was new news for me. But that opened up like a new chapter, because that led me to seek the Lord to understand these things that I had packed away very tightly. And I felt like the Lord was starting to say, you need to write about this. I didn't know how. I didn't know if I was going to write it as like a legacy piece for my kids. If I was just going to write, okay, this happened, and look what God did, look what God did, look what God did. Because I'm going to tell you, God has been absolutely amazing in my life. Because one of the things he did when I was 5 is I was at a small church, and I heard the story of Joseph, and I said, if you can
Mm.
bring Joseph's brothers back to him, will you do that for me? I'm 5.
Wow.
And he told me
Wow.
yes. When I was 23, he returned my brothers to me. I can
Wow.
say I've lived longer with my brothers than I have without my brothers now. So the Lord has had his hand on me, but I've also been someone who continued to seek him.
Mm-hmm.
And when things were hard, I would turn to him. And so, anyway, 2008 rolls around. I have this dream. I feel like there's something about writing cultivating inside of me. My father passes away just a few days before Christmas, 2009. And all of a sudden, I feel an emptiness I never thought I could ever feel. And that emptiness took me back to the idea of the dream, of emotions I didn't know I had. And that process got me to start pen writing. And then I went over to my computer. And it wasn't until 2016 the Lord took me on a little trip. I was supposed to be going to somebody's graduation party, but I ended up lost, but I wasn't because he was totally in charge of this. And and on that, he's like, you need to write this book, and I want you to use the dream from 2008 and build the book around that. And that, looking back, it gave me so much freedom because I could talk about God, the Father,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, angels, and just the supernatural things I had experienced. So many of the stories that are inside of Secret Chambers of the Heart are actual things I experienced.
Wow.
And there are some things that I experienced as a child, supernatural stuff, that it's almost like, how do you say this? The Lord has been real to me because he's been walking with me and I've been walking with him. And so on that journey of life, he's brought healing into my heart. He's helped me process some of the harder questions you had asked earlier, like, how did it feel like connecting with people? He has just divinely helped me see something good out of the bad over and over and over again. He has just taken me and in the process of writing the book, there's some trauma. There's going to be on the print. There's going to be like what do they call it? Like a little tag, like a warning
Trigger
tag,
warning. Yeah,
trigger
just so
warning,
people
because
know.
some of
Yeah.
it there's some things in there that's triggering.
Sure.
But he was also able to minister to me while I was writing, and he helped me see something better than there's in him, in Christ Jesus. He will take the bad thing and he will turn it into something good. It may not be what we think it's going to be. It may not look like what we planned, but if we will lean into him, he will take that thing and he will turn it around, and you will become victorious. You will not stay a victim because he has a story that's greater than the story that was handed to you. And so for me, that's in my book. But the process of doing that, and I actually write about like, I really suddenly miss my dad, and because I really miss my dad. And my father struggled with mental health issues. And because he struggled with mental health issues, I never thought about what I would feel like when it was time for him to graduate from here to heaven. I didn't think about that. I thought about him being free when his time came. But I can reassure anybody listening, I don't care how old or young you are when you lose your parent, it hurts. And if you don't have a baseline of emotional intelligence, you end up experiencing emotions you never knew that you had. And that's what was happening to me. So his absence in my life just pulled all of the stops, everything. All the things got pulled off, and I had to start working through. And fortunately, the Lord was with me. Every one of those things. And like I said, I ended up having to face some trauma stuff that I had packed away, but he was there. And he's always there. He's one prayer away.
So good. And one of the things I wanted to just acknowledge about, we try to give a trigger warning or let people know the content that we're going to be talking about because these are hard stories. Your book, one of the things that's important to know about a trigger is that it's just letting you know that there's something there that needs to be dealt with, right? When something comes up in you and you feel your body get tense or your heart starts racing or you start getting very uncomfortable, you can't sit in your own skin, you have some options, right? You could pack it away for another day. And sometimes we have to do that, right? Because we have children or we have this that's going on that we feel like we can't unpack that. But I will tell you from my own story of not unpacking the trauma and just continuing to, like you said in the first episode, like just get up, do what you have to do. You look at you have a roof over your head. Like, what do you have to complain about? Sure, life's hard, but life's hard. And not acknowledging that really created me continuing to pass down to my children other things that weren't helpful because I didn't do the work to work through that trauma so that I could have a better connection. I was doing the best I could as a mom. I have a 21, 19, and a 14-year-old daughter, and they're doing their work now, because I hurt people, can heal people, and showing people how to do this. That's what we're here today doing and wanting to encourage you. So if you felt triggered or there's something that does trigger you, I would just ask you, get in connection with someone who you can trust to help you walk through that. And if Jesus wants to do that with you, but also there's people that want to use their story to help you navigate yours, but don't run from it because it will catch up to you eventually. My story, like when it caught up to me, it was like, okay, you will deal with this now. So I recommend not waiting till it catches up to you to start unpacking that because then you're thrown into it. And there's nothing gentle about it when you have to deal with it when you're in kind of a crisis, tragic situation. So I just wanted to make note of that. And I just love how open you were to the Spirit from a young age. And that's something so special. And if we could teach that to our children early on, wow, their life would be so different if they could have that close connected relationship. But when we can't have a close human relationship, it makes it really hard to teach how to have a spiritual relationship with someone. So they're all interconnected. And so I love how even in the midst of your difficult relationships and things at a young age, that the Lord just showed up in a special way for you. And we want to just believe that that can happen for you and that you will believe because it it is our belief in something that keeps us from either not embracing it or embracing it. So, Deborah, I'm going to let you kind of close us out with your last admonishment to the listeners and just again remind them where they can find you, but I will put all your links in the show notes as well.
I just want to encourage everybody to lean into the Lord. He knows your story. He saw everything. And he does not leave, he does not forsake his children. And so when we are willing to work with him in those places, and some of the things that I went through, I had a counselor. I had somebody sit across from me and say, by the way, have you considered? And sometimes it was a confirmation. It's like, yeah, I considered that. I didn't want to, but yeah, I did. And there were just those intimate times where Holy Spirit was ministering to me. And so I will tell you that trauma, unprocessed emotional trauma, is buried alive. And that's what brings the intensity to you. Is like, because when you start remembering some of the stuff that's happened, and for me, I was at that age where I would have what I called instant pop-ups. It would just pop up. We have instant pop-ups on our computers. That's what I would relate it to the counselor. So I want to encourage you to seek help from people who believe. There's to this day, I still get help in areas when things come up that I don't want to process by myself. Some stuff is big. I sit with somebody and I let them minister to me. I minister to a lot of people in different ways, but I let them minister to me. And the most recent thing I went through, the minute she said to me, "I believe you," I just started crying. Like, I'm not a big crying person, okay? But it's like, oh my goodness, this was locked away for all these years. Right. And she's not. One of the things that would happen to me if I experienced abuse was I was told, don't tell anybody because no one's going to believe you anyway. And here's this counselor sitting across from me, a minister, counselor lady, saying, "I believe you." And that just opened the door for the healing and the deliverance into freedom that Jesus has been waiting for me to come into since 2001. So I just want to encourage you.
It's a journey, right? And
it's a journey.
That's another really important thing. You know, we are not finished until we are with him, and we're going to be in process, and there are going to be things that come up. That's the really kind thing about the Lord is he says he won't give us more than we can handle. So it comes up as we are ready. And so I love that advice and those tools. So thank you. They can find you. It's at thedeborahscott.com.
Now don't the sounds like a book. The. So I love anyway, my friend helped me with that. I'm like, when it comes to getting your name online, .com, depending on your name, if it's a popular name, it's hard to access it without paying thousands of dollars. So anyway, I had to come up with something that would go with it. So the Deborah Scott sounded the most comfortable of all the options. Yes. So it's the Deborah Scott on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And over on Amazon, I do have an Amazon page with Secret Chambers of the Heart, Happy Monday, The Mystery, and I just released another book about grief in December. So amazing. That is over there, but I don't think I've changed it to the Deborah Scott yet. It's an author's page. And maybe I should, because part of branding is making sure you have the same thing.
I know. And isn't it so hard? Goodness. Well, they are going to be able to link up to you through show notes. So you guys connect with Deborah Scott. And thank you so much for your time today and for your willingness to share your story. It's such a blessing. And I'll look forward to being back here with you, the listeners. If this show has been meaningful to you, we would love to hear about it in the comments. And if you know someone who might be struggling with a similar story, it would be amazing if you shared this with them and just brought some hope to their life. It's always great when we can hear how other people have navigated, because there is no one size fits all to healing. And so you never know how the Lord might use something like this if you share it. So thank you so much. And we will see you again in next week's episode. Take care. Thanks, Deborah.
Thank you.